And welcome, everybody. Another Monday, another respect. And I bet a bunch of you are sitting there right now scratching your heads going, something wasn't quite right there. What exactly was that? Well, I told you on the last show that there would be some interesting updates, some news to tell you. At the end of this month, I am retiring. I'm passing the baton. I've had enough of you people. No, actually, I'm old, I'm tired, and it's time to move on and spend more time with the family. So I have chosen to pass the baton for these 4 shows for the month of April. I will be not having co-hosts. I will be co-hosting with some new people who should be very, very familiar to you. This is Patriots Across the Pond. So you've got Stu and Elisa. Welcome. And tonight our guest is Peymon Mottahedeh, who is the chairman of Freedom Law School. We will be giving you since it's April, some very, very interesting information you might want to know about before you drop those 1040s in the mail. But first I want to welcome Stu and Elisa. I am passing the baton to them. They will be doing REPSECT in my stead starting in May. A little tough for me to talk about, but that is what we're doing. So we'll get to talk about that more later on. In the meantime, welcome, Peymon. It's great to have you back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, it was a pleasure having you the last time. It's a very, very, very important subject. This is something that people need to know and need to understand, especially as we're moving forward. We've seen all the things that have been going on. We've seen all the stuff that we had hoped would be a learning experience for people with the tariffs and people learning about the quote unquote external revenue service. So we're here for you to give some more insight into the internal revenue service. So give us a little background about the history of the IRS and why that history kind of really doesn't exist.
Well, the modern day income tax started in 1913. And it did not start earlier because the founding fathers were freedom lovers. And they wrote in the U.S. Constitution that the federal government, which the states were creating in the late 1700s, cannot directly tax the people of the states. There were 13 independent states or countries back then. So direct taxes had to be divided up, apportioned among the states, and the taxed property like real estate and slaves. So in 1913, they claimed to have allegedly fixed that problem by ratifying an amendment to the U.S. Constitution called the 16th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution that was supposed to allow the federal government to tax the American people directly. But the U.S. Supreme Court, in 2 different decisions, Bushaber versus Union Pacific Railroad and Stanton versus Baltic Mining Company, ruled that the 16th Amendment did not give Congress any new taxing powers. So the federal government could not, before 1913 or after 1913, tax American people directly. And the people that wrote the first income tax law in 1913 knew that. So when they wrote the law, they defined the term United States and state as being Washington, D.C. and her territories. So the word U.S. individual income tax form. The U.S., the United States individual, was not the 48 states individual. It's still not the 50 states individual. Today is the District of Columbia individual. Back then it was District of Columbia and her territories individual. And all that has been hidden in plain sight in the law books. Here's the Internal Revenue Code, the Bible of the IRS. About 10,000 pages of gobbledygook, tiny font, tissue thin, minutia, meant to confuse you so you can submit and turn to a professional, a accountant, a certified public accountant, or tax attorney to say, look, just help me to not be messed by the government, to take my stuff or put me in jail. And the accountant says, of course, I know the law. Pay me some money. I'll fill out those forms for you. As a professional, I will take care of you. The scam has been going on for over 100 years. And I've been educating people about this stuff since 1992. I've not filed or paid any federal income taxes and openly teaching Americans with eyes to see, ears to hear, and most importantly, good brain to think for themselves to do the same, and have been under criminal investigation by the IRS since 1994, 2 years before I created Freedom Law School. So even up to today, I'm under criminal investigation. However, the IRS never chooses to indict me, put me in a jury trial, and convince 12 innocent Americans that I'm guilty of not paying my fair share of taxes, because they know that you and me, Mark, and the people of the 50 United States, by law, in the IRS's own Bible, the Internal Revenue Code, are not legally required to file and pay federal income taxes to begin with. We have been deceived as a nation, and my goal, my dream, when I came across this information in 1992, when all this hair was jet black, to educate, inform, and wake up the American people to be free. You can be free. Now that people are saying our government doesn't work for us, they're owned by the Epstein gang billionaires who buy off our politicians, Congress, even the presidents. They see we don't have a government of, by, and for the people anymore. Okay, let's defund them. You've been deceived to voluntarily pay income taxes and payroll taxes and estate taxes and waging and gun manufacturing taxes you never legally owed. So it's time that we take our government back and we have more for ourselves and our families. Price of gas, everything's going up. American people are in debt. The middle class is under pressure into poverty. So by not paying money we never legally owed to the federal government, we can better our families, because your money belongs to you to begin with. And we can now have extra money left over to choose to give, if we want to, some of that to elect people in Congress running for offices of trust that represent the American people truly and uphold and defend our God-given rights as provided in the U.S. Constitution. Okay, so that's what the goal is. We got to get a lot more Congressman Thomas Massey's, Ron Paul's, and Rand Paul's in office to take our country back and have the middle class the growing, prospering group of people once again lift Americans out of poverty, up, 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 because no longer we're going to be slaves. And all of that is available for more on my website, freedomlawschool.org, and educate themselves to be free.
I have so many questions. I wrote so much down. So just for the historic part, we know that they passed this Christmas Eve, right? In 1913, like everybody was, they did it sneaky. They got it to Woodrow Wilson. He kind of sold out the country. I mean, I don't even want to 100% blame Woodrow Wilson because God only knows what they were going to do to him if he didn't do this, right? So we don't know the kind of threats, but he did. And my question is, the Federal Reserve was created, but the IRS wasn't created till a few years later. Is that correct? Where they actually made this, or was it the same time? The corporation, it was originally Delaware, and then they moved it to Puerto Rico. Yeah, could you explain some of that?
Sure. In 1913, when they were going to create a Federal Reserve, and the bankers' plan was to make money out of thin air by fraud, because that's what they're doing. The modern banking is based upon fictional money, credit loans. They wanted the federal government to be able to pay interest on those loans, which they have to tax the American people, without any potential interference by the states. So that's why the Federal Reserve was, as you said, enacted just before Christmas. And the same year they had the 16th Amendment, which was allegedly ratified, which wasn't, but they claimed it was,
right,
at the same time. And at the same time, by the way, they passed the 17th Amendment. So U.S. senators are no longer chosen by the legislature of each state, but the vote of the population of the state. And the population could be more easily manipulated than the state legislatures.
right.
And by having the people directly versus the state choosing senators, the senators no longer are beholden to the state legislature to protect states' powers and rights against the federal government. So all this was meant to together weaken and enslave the American people into an eventual one world government.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned also about the states. So we talk about the federal government and our federal income taxes, right? Taxing people on their labor, the wages from their labor. Then how does the state and the city, like in New York, if you live in New York, you have state tax, you have federal tax. But if you live in the city limits, you also have New York City taxes. So how does that fit in? Is it all stems from those same unlawful rules, or is that separate? Like, if you don't say I'm gonna pay my income tax, but how does that affect you with the state and the city?
America, remember, is not one country. We are actually 50 countries in the Union. That's why there's 50 stars on a flag that represent each country of the Union. Like we have in France, Germany, Italy are part of the European Union as countries. So most of the states like New York and California do have a state income tax. Florida and a few other states like Texas don't. But the ones that do claim to have an income tax, they make their laws, the definition of terms, or the forms for filing a tax return with the state, dependent upon the federal laws, definitions, or tax forms. So if you do not have a federal income tax filing or paying requirement, you don't have to have a state income tax requirement either. So Pennsylvania and just a few states like Mississippi, Arkansas, and I think, which one is that? Out there in the South. Those states have an independent state income tax than the federal system, but most other states, like New York or cities that follow federal law, they do not have, you don't have to pay income tax. In fact, on the screen right now, we're bringing the map of the states. You brought it in? Yeah, we have a map on our website at freedomlawschool.org that shows this to everybody of the states that do follow federal law and the ones that don't. So if you're in Pennsylvania, you have to pay state income tax. In New York, you don't.
Okay. And I'm sorry, just one more question. This is so fascinating to me because it irks me and angers me. So I'm going to give you a hypothetical. Say you have a good obeying, person all these years. They're paying their taxes, right? And then this year, 2026, they go, you know what? I'm not going to pay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you usually, like, they've been part of the system for a long time. Now, we're not even taking into consideration what might actually have happened behind the scenes, in 2020 and the CARES Act and pulling everything through the Treasury and bankrupting the Fed. Like, let's not even go there. But under normal circumstances that you've been dealing with for the last 30 years, this person says, I'm not paying this year. What do you find in your experience that people can expect? Are they going to get a letter? Are they what usually happens now, not 30 years ago?
They can expect to be free and richer. Okay, let me give you some statistics about the IRS, which is the most incompetent, lazy, irresponsible, broken federal agency, bar none. IRS's computers are the oldest legacy computers of the federal system. They go back to 1960s. They still run on COBOL and assembly language. And since 1980s, decade after decade, many different contractors, outsiders are brought in to update their system. And every time they fail and leave the IRS's computers in worse shape. They have over 100 computer systems that do not talk to each other. That's how bad they are to begin with. Wow. So the couple that with the fact that according to IRS's best estimates, there's about 80 million Americans who do not file income tax, confession tax forms every year. That's right, 80 million. Not
really?
Yes. It was back in 96. It was 63 million, according to IRS's best estimates on the W-2 and 1099 information that third parties had given to the IRS. Now, with 30 years of population growth, it's got to be around 80 million, if not more. So that tells you right there. Is 80 million people in prison for that filing tax returns? Have the bank account and paycheck taken because they don't file? Of course not. What people do not realize is that 1040 income tax form is a confession. The accountant CPA has been deceiving you along with the corrupt major media to sign that 1040 form under oath. And under oath, declare on line 37 of your 1040 form that you owe the IRS this money that you wrote on there. Otherwise, you owe the IRS nothing. If the IRS wants to come after you by law, they must send you an official tax proposal letter called a notice of deficiency. And that letter gives you 90 days to exercise your right to challenge the IRS's tax proposal in the U.S. tax court. And if you do that, which you should, we always recommend people do, as long as you're in court, they cannot touch you by law. So when you sign a 1040 confession form under oath, you're actually putting a rope around your neck and handing it to the IRS to pull. Okay? You confess you owe the IRS money. There's no automatic way of owing the IRS money. No. They have to send you that notice of deficiency and give you a chance to challenge them in court. And the IRS has, guess what? less than 30 U.S. tax court judges. There's no way physically for these 30 human beings to come after even a tiny fraction of the people who don't file 10 foreign income tax confession form, give them trials in the U.S. tax court. And the IRS knows that. And it is for that reason and other reasons that they basically, by and large, they leave non-filers alone. If you stop filing 10 foreign income tax confession forms, chances are better than 99+% you'll receive nothing in the mail from the IRS.
Wow.
Now, if you do get something, let me tell you about that. When you do get something from the IRS, it's another 90% plus. It'll be a simple, dumb, computer-generated form letter, no name, no signature, sent to Alyssa. We haven't filed a tax return for 2022. Yeah, tell us if you should file or not, or why. Scare you. Wah, I was kidding you. We caught up with you, Alyssa. Guess what? There's nobody, Alyssa, in the IRS, no Dave, no Charlie, no Steve, watching Alyssa saying, we just sent a letter to Alyssa. If she doesn't respond, we're going to get somebody to go after Alyssa. That's what they want you to believe, okay? And the corrupt major media and the incompetent, ignorant accountants perpetrate that myth. And you get scared and say, oh gosh, IRS found out about me. I'm behind on my taxes. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to go to this accountant. Would you please help me, accountant? You're the expert, please. I need your help before the IRS hurts me. And that works. Yeah. That's all they will do at the most. You can just ignore them. They sent a few of those letters at the most. You can ignore them, mean nothing, because they know they can only issue so few notice of deficiencies to non-filers. So instead, IRS focuses on those who filed the 10 for income tax confession forms. When you do that, here's what happens. You just expose yourself to 3 separate federal tax crimes that can put you in prison for 9 years for every single 1040 you signed and gave to the IRS. And you put a rope around your neck and gave it to the IRS. So if they come after you for 5 years for 1040 forms, made the same mistake, you can go to prison for 45 years because you signed and gave it to the IRS under penalties of perjury, under oath, same as in a court of law with the judge and the jury. Now, your accountant, of course, doesn't tell you that. He says, oh, just sign here. No problem. I'll take care of everything else. Trust me. Right. But look at your 1040 form you filed last time and see, oh, it's true. You never told me what penalty perjury means. And then it gets worse because you're begging the IRS to accept your expenses, deductions, credits, all that stuff you claim on your 1040 form. You have the burden of proving. All the IRS has to do is say, nope, we reject all that. Okay? If you want to go to tax court, we'll give you a notice deficiency, but guess what? You have the burden of proving it. So you have to prove your innocence now in tax court. Okay? If you don't file, there's no tax return to defend. You've not confessed to nothing. The burden of proof remains on the IRS where it belongs, not on you.
It's just a massive fear campaign, isn't it? To get you to put pen to paper, enter the contract, and then they've got you.
And that contract is only 1 year at a time. But so something I want to add, there's a lot of baseless legal theories in the freedom movement that mislead people. Now, as long as you don't file pay income tax, you're good. Okay, but some of these baseless legal theories are U.S. national, sovereign citizen, state citizenship arguments, revocation of election, common law arguments, name in capital letters, straw man, UCC, and all the name in capital letters, on and on and on. All that stuff you guys have heard, I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
It's utter baseless nonsense. I started with those nonsense theories first in 1992. What happened is somebody taught me how to use a law library. I looked up the laws and read them for myself. I found out, wow, I was taught some good things and some wrong things. So I don't do any of that patriot mythologies. They feel good, sound right, make sense, but they're just legally baseless. I rely only on the U.S. Constitution, laws as published by Congress, U.S. Treasury regulations, 1040 form and instructions, and U.S. Supreme Court decisions. That's it. And if you go to freedomlawschool.org, that's the first step people come across. We teach you is to follow the law that liberates you to be free.
Now, if you, for argument's sake, you haven't paid your taxes, they can't go back on that. But when you have, in the past, submitted your 10W40 contract, your confession, what is their statute of limitations as far as saying this isn't good, that isn't good?
Well, technically, they can come after you forever. Even 50 years ago, you did file, they can come after you. But practically, they leave you alone. And so you see, they don't work like, Mark used to file it every year. He stopped. David, Steve, Charlie, somebody go after Mark. He fell off the slavery, the train. We got to get him back on the train of slavery. No. There's already 80 million Americans who don't file income taxes, Mark. So you just get lost among the 80 estimate million they got that don't file. It's not a big deal. Every year is a separate event. So you can just stop. Just like you were taking the flu shots every year from the wonderful, trusted doctor that just take a shot every year to be safe. You say, I think I'm going to quit. And if you quit, you just be free. And all you got to do if you're a wage earner, go to our website, freedomlawschool.org, and there's a page there on how to legally and safely stop stealing of money out of your paycheck, called income tax withholding, excuse me, by your employer. Once you stop your employer from stealing money out of your paycheck and give it to the IRS, you no longer have to file a 1040 form to get this money that was stolen by you from your employer, get a little bit back by filling out that 1040 form. You're free.
Yeah. You know, I just was thinking, so Mark, you probably remember this, more than, let's say, Stu, because he's not in the States. Remember Leona Helmsley? So So Stu, Leona Helmsley was married to a real estate mogul, Harry Helmsley, and she was his wife, whatever. And they made an example of her. She wasn't very well liked because she was apparently not a really, nice person. They owned hotels and she was a bitch, to like people that worked for you. She was just not a nice person. So people had it out for her. But in New York, that was like front page. She was taken to court. She didn't pay her taxes and she went to jail, right? Didn't she go to jail for a period of time? So obviously she had enemies. That's my opinion of why that happened. However, the average person saw this and the message was, if they could get Leona Helmsley with all her money and her connections, they can get you, And so here I am. I don't know how many, was that the 80s, 70s?
It's just
the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
Okay. So I was young, youngish. And so even for me, though I, choose to see things a different way, it's still like there, they planted this seed that you think of every once in a while. And if you're not as, listening to someone like Peymon or just educating yourself, that's what I think people have in the back of their mind. And then you said it, Peymon, the tax attorneys, the accountants, CPAs, I mean, they put the fear of God into their clients too.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you try to have a conversation, just an average conversation, oh, you want to go to jail? All right, you want to go to jail? I'm not going to take responsibility and be a party to this. And
Yeah, that is a publicised scapegoat, isn't it, to create
Yeah.
more fear? I imagine that was everywhere in the media, was it?
Everywhere. And I think they did the same thing in Hollywood. Didn't they do it with Wesley Snipes? Didn't
Oh,
they
yeah.
go with
Stewart also.
who?
Martha Stewart.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And Martha Stewart and Leo Hemsley, guess what? They both filed 10 income tax confession forms. That's why they got them, because they gave the rope, put around the neck, gave it to the IRS. And Wesley Snipes did this patriot mythology nonsense, which I mentioned to you earlier. He wrote these phony checks that somebody told him it's sidetracked based upon your labor, which was captured by your birth certificate being sold by the county where you were born to U.S. Department of Commerce, and it monetized your labor. Some crazy argument based upon that silliness.
Yeah.
He wrote a phony check to pay off his money he owed to the IRS, which was under $2 million, and told the IRS, here, I'll pay you off. Give me the rest, the change back. And then he stopped filing. Okay. So that's why he went to prison, because he did all that nonsense.
I see.
And they have done this successfully to keep this slave, the sheep, in check.
Yeah, it works.
And it works. But the fact is, the vast, vast majority, over 90+%, almost 100% of people they put in prison, all those are filed 10 foreign income tax confession forms.
And that's go ahead.
Go, Mark, sorry.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
No, I just wanted to ask you, because in that internal revenue code manual, you keep saying, I've heard you say in a previous interview that the wording in there actually states that it's only residents of DC that are liable to pay any taxes. Everywhere else, you do not have to.
Well, it doesn't say it in that exact wording, but what it does say is this. The term United States or state are defined, and it says United States includes District of Columbia. The word state does not include any of the 50 states that are listed. And when it comes to the law definitions, you cannot assume things are in there, because District of Columbia is not even a state.
Right.
And the United States means states, which we know it means District of Columbia and District of Columbia again. Oh, so United States means basically District of Columbia plus District of Columbia, which means again only District of Columbia. So the word United States is defined. So now on a 10 for income tax confession form, they use the term U.S. or United States individual income tax. Now, they let you believe that United States or U.S. means the 50 states, because usually it does. For everyday language. For example, for nationality purposes, I am a U.S. citizen and a citizen of my state of Florida. So is everybody else. Okay, and the definitions include the 50 states in there. But here, they use the term U.S. individual income tax form, and they allow you to mislead yourself by believing that means the 50 states U.S. individual income tax form, when in reality, in law, in the Internal Revenue Code, Section 7701A910. You can look it up on your own. Internal Revenue Code, Section 7701A910. Look it up on your phone. And you see, wow, he's telling the truth. Okay? It is only District of Columbia. So that form really should say DC individual income tax return, not US individual income tax return.
So when you look at the form and you go through it, basically, anytime that they go after you, that they have, to a certain extent, the quote unquote legal right to go after you, it's because A, you signed your name to the contract, and B, because they have either determined or found a discrepancy that doesn't go in accordance with what they feel you should have put down there. and that's what they're holding you to. But above and beyond that, if you haven't signed that contract, there is nothing they can do.
Almost nothing. In fact, this is how bad the IRS's condition is. Back in 2020, the United States Treasury auditors did an audit of the IRS, which was labeled high-income non-filers are not being worked by the IRS. And they had in that report a list of, they said, look, we found, by the way, as we reviewed IRS's records, that here's 100 richest non-filers who each owe the IRS about $100 million, about $10 million total. And they recommended to the IRS, by the way, while we at it, not only you should come after non-filers, go after these guys. These 100 richest non-filers, who each made over $100 million, right? You would think the IRS leadership would be embarrassed and say, oh my gosh, sorry. I mean, these 100 people each owe $100 million. They didn't file a tax return. We didn't catch them. Oh my gosh. Sure, we go after them right away. Yes. Sorry, we messed up, but we'll fix it. No doubt. Rest assured. IRS refused to commit to going after these 100 richest non-filers. That's how broken, disorganized, lazy, and incompetent the IRS is. So if they're going to leave alone these people who owe the IRS $100 million each, how are they going to come after you that made only $50,000 or $50 million?
I don't know. It's rather insane when you sit and you think about it, and you think about the way that we've been sucked into this, basically. But I've stated it numerous times before, and I'll stick to my guns with it. We have allowed these things to happen to us.
Yeah.
Because we don't research, we don't check, we don't stand up for what are actually our rights.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this act from, that resulted in the 16th Amendment that they passed on Christmas Eve, with most of the people not there, and most of the people probably drunk out of their minds, that they got through. Where was there anything that was ever held as due diligence against the government for this passage?
No, what happened is that at that time, the income tax rate was so low. To pay 1% tax, you had to make, in today's money, equivalent of about $20 million. To pay highest rate of 6%, you had to make over $100 million in today's money. So extremely few numbers of people were potentially affected by it. So then they just let that sit there, let people believe that Americans got to pay income tax if you make over this amount. Then in the late 30s, they started FICA, Federal Insurance Contributions Act, or Social Security, where the tax rate was less than 1% the employer would take out of your paycheck for supposedly for your retirement, put it aside for your retirement. Yeah. That's when it started withholding from average wage earners' check. And, it just, nobody complained because it was so small. And it was for their own benefit, he was told. Then when America got into World War II in 1942, and our sons and brothers and husbands went to war in Europe and Japan, the wives, sisters, and mothers were at the factories working. And that's when it started the withholding from the paycheck. And of course, why would any wife or mother or sister not want to support their husband, brother, or son? They don't mind it. Okay, take a lot of my paycheck so he comes back home safe. So he's well fed and taken care of. Then after World War II, when we won the war in 1945, they just kept this withholding going. Now, at this time, over 30 years has passed since 1913. A generation had come and gone. So Americans believe, oh, well, we all got to file income tax. We're withholding from first Social Security first. Now for, this withholding for income tax. So then by 1954, American people were like a frogs that got slowly cooked. And they were used to withholding and paying income tax because they were just happened to do it. And that's when the IRS took its modern, oppressive, beat you in the head format, that they are. But that dictatorship of IRS from 1954 lasted only through the early 2000 years. What happened? This communist entity, the IRS, that nobody owns, okay? No one's in charge of it. It's just a communist machine on its own going. After 2 generations, okay, the corruption and waste and just incompetence got worse and worse and worse. And the IRS started a big slide toward eventual internal destruction. And that is what's going on right now. For example, the IRS used to levy or take people's bank account and paychecks about 3.7 million times back in 2011. But 2023, that number had crashed to less than 10%, to about 300,000. Over 90% drop. That is an implosion. Now that's filers who confessed under oath to all the IRS money, they cannot come after them. The non-filers in 2015, they completely chose to leave them alone. Last year, they finally, IRS started sending some scare letters, those dumb computer-generated letters to people who don't file, because I've been haranguing the public, hey, you don't file to leave you alone, and they heard me, IRS heard me loud and clear, and they say, we got to do something before all the sheep wake up and take back their country. Goliath is waking up and he's going to take the snaps off. So that is what's going on. And I believe, Mark, that we're going to be following the same thing that happened to Soviet Union. You had the Communist Revolution in 1917 to 1924, and Lenin and Stalin were dictators. Pound you overhead, murdered millions. But by the time, 2 generations later, in 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev came to power in the Soviet Union, and he wanted to fix or better the communist system. He couldn't do it. And he saw the whole thing from within collapsed. That is what's going on with the IRS right now. I'm hastening it. This empire needs to go. We're going to get the federal government back to the constitutional limits, which is over 90% smaller than what it should be. All this corruption, waste, criminality, wars, all that poverty American people need to end. If we stop stealing income and payroll taxes from people's paychecks, and if the employers stop requiring their employees to fill out a W-4 form to allow them to steal from the paycheck to the IRS. That's going to be on my next focus now. It is right now to get employers. Let's free up your little plantation you got there for the IRS. And as we free up more and more people, There's no way, absolutely no way for the IRS to ever be able to catch up with people, and the game is over. America will be a free country once again.
Well, I have to tell you something, and this is what bothers me. And I don't know, I'm speaking about it as a parent, but here you have now kids coming, like I have two daughters, they're 19 and 22. One of them has a job, in a law firm right now. She's not going to be a lawyer, but that's what her job is during school. She had to sign a 1040, right? My other daughter is going to be working for a big hotel through school. I know she just got accepted, they just gave her the job. She has to go Monday and, fill everything out. She's going to have to fill that out. So now I'm the mom, right? And I say, and believe me, they know my stance on this, but I say to them, guys, don't sign that. Then they're going to say to me, what do you mean don't sign it? Then I can't get the job. So I think there's a generation of us, I'm going to go out on a limb. We're probably, boomers / Gen X, we've woken up. We see the corruption. We're between the older generation that are still, gripped into a system, and then the younger generation who've been completely indoctrinated in their school system, starting as young as elementary school, as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. What do you say? What do you say to the kid? Don't take the job. It's not easy to get a job when you're that age. You don't have a degree or anything like that. Like, it's so frustrating because these corporations and firms are still doing that. How do we bring that information to them? The companies I'm talking about.
First of all, it's very easy for your daughters to go to our website, freedomlawschool.org. There's a webpage there on how to stop income tax withholding from your paycheck. The W-4 form there that the employer is forcing them to fill out and sign, they can run under exempt, check exempt. And we have our form. We add the law, writing in there, look, I'm doing this, boss, because you are forcing me to sign this form. Otherwise, you would not give me a job. So I'm giving it to you, but you should not withhold from my paycheck anyways. Here's a law that I rely upon, quoted and attached. And here's part of my file. So down the road, IRS cannot paint you as a tax cheat to a jury down the road. But with that, what I just told you, the income tax withholding from your paycheck will stop. If you have any questions, they can call us at Freedom Law School at 813-444-4800. We will help them find a form on our website, freedomlawschool.org, free, follow the instructions, and stop withholding. Now, they fill out the W-4 form as the boss wanted, but with no income tax withheld. They don't have to file anything with the IRS next April 15th.
Wow. I think you need to put this, you need to get on podcasts with these young people that have their audience, because this is such important information for this new generation. They have to be educated. Yes.
And that's why I'm here with you. That's why I'm having all these different interviews this year with a lot of podcasters to get the news of the freedom that's available to American people. The good news is the young people are more online than the old generation who's still watching Fox and CNN and MSNBC. Okay. So at this war that's going on right now, that Trump has done clearly, openly, on behalf of a tiny country with less than 10 million people over there across the globe. Okay. We're going to have our sons die for a little tiny country of less than 10 million people. Oh, why is that? They're saying that's wrong. Of course, they're saying because, our country is owned by the Zionist billionaires, supporters of Netanyahu, who are funding candidates who pledge allegiance to whatever Israel Netanyahu tells them to do. The young people are seeing that. The ones that are not seeing that are generally the boomers like me and older who thought that, oh, no, we know Israel is just a bunch of victims. You know, the young people see the Gaza being nearly completely flattened by Netanyahu. The older people does not see that on Fox News or CNN or the mainstream media. So I think the message actually is getting out there, quite frankly. We're getting so many contacts from people right now, it's hard for us to keep up with them sometimes. People need to call us, okay? If they want to get a hold of somebody, don't fill out the form online as much. Make sure to call us so we can help you. 813-444-4800.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the young people too. Like they are more resourceful online. Like, you know, like I don't know if any of you are somewhat helpless, but like I'll say, I don't know how to do this. And they like, wait, I'll just get a YouTube tutorial. And they were doing that since they're like 10. I'm like, wow. But question on behalf of Stu, I'm going to just say it. So how do we relate with what's going on here to the UK? Do you have any insight into the UK or for our UK listeners as far as this same idea? Obviously, it's not the IRS and the Fed, but they're still being, you know, the same slave system over there as well.
I got good and bad news for Stu and English people and people around the world. America is the only country on earth that has founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Rights recognize that all rights come from our Creator above. We're born with it, no matter what you believe. They're God-given rights, and that the purpose of the government is only to secure and protect those rights. Every place is on earth. Your rights come from the king, the crown, the dictator, okay, or the prime, or the Congress or legislature. So they can always take away your rights. That's why in England, which we got the jury trial from now, jury trial is gone. In England, they don't have the right to bear arms. Gone. In England, if you go online, criticize this immigration that's going on, England being invaded. Oh, you just put out hateful incitement, violence online, go to jail. There's no more free speech in England or much of Europe either. So the good news for Stuart is, come to America, Stu. Come to Florida, Tennessee, the Freedom States. That's what you need to pursue right away, because this place, we will return America to greatness it was meant to be, the beacon of the world. If you're looking for freedom, come to America, okay? And here, this continent, America, which has more useful farmland, ranching land, and minerals and oil than any country on earth, will become the greatest country on earth for generations to come if we can stop this income tax slavery system and take part of that money in our Restore Freedom plan to fund election of more freedom-loving statesmen like former Congressman Ron Paul and Thomas Massey and Rand Paul today.
Yeah. Well, let me just say something. This is how my brain works, because obviously Elise and I follow this military operation, and we believe there's a lot more going on with Israel. Israel has been set up to fail. I don't even think Netanyahu's about anymore, but that's another story. But what you were saying there about the, a little bit earlier, about all the computer systems in the IRS being so old and stuff, that's almost like a case for that. The IRS is being set up to fail, almost like patriots are in control of that. However, people have been given the opportunity and chance to do their homework, to not file their taxes, to join this We the People movement and take down this regime as a collective mass non-compliance. That is how we do it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. First thing they got to realize, there is no your taxes to begin with. Okay. You got to realize, oh my gosh, We lost the government by, of, and for we the people, okay? And I was never required by law to file income taxes to begin with, okay? That mental switch is bigger thing because people still think, oh, I'm just going to stop paying my taxes. No, you never owed any tax, federal income tax to begin with. So yes, once people realize that, we are unstoppable. America will be free in very short order and prosperous.
Yeah.
So do we not have our own? I think people have been looking into this. We've got our own Bill of Rights in the UK that not a lot of people know about, and people obviously looking at the Magna Carta and common law and all these sorts of things. You got any opinion of those sort of documents?
Opinion about what documents, Stu?
Well, the Magna Carta, obviously, people, there's a lot of people trying to go back to common law and get out of these systems. And I did hear that we have our own Bill of Rights in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Yes, like Magna Carta, which is foundation of common law of England and that America inherited from England. Yes. Unfortunately, in England, the English people have become very much brainwashed in being socialists, and they've allowed all these immigrants to come over and get all the socialist benefits, and they vote for socialism, for the Liberal Party, that type of thing. So I hate to say it, but it seems to me like England and Germany, France, Italy, these guys are going down, just like California and New York are going down. They're going to get hurt a lot more to wake up.
Yeah.
Realize that, they got to make a U-turn, but that's why you see in California, in the United States, Florida and Texas and Tennessee, these freedom states with no state income tax, they're growing very fast and prosperous, and everybody wants to come down to Florida. Why is that? Okay, so I think that's what it takes, people to wake up, realize communism, socialism does not work. But I think, England needs to be heard more at this time from to wake up the English people. The frog needs to cook a little faster before the English jump out.
Oh, 100%. People are fast asleep over here. You've only got to spend 17 seconds on Facebook to know that. But we are definitely going through the Biden years over here with what Keir Starmer's doing. But he's performing so badly, he's waking people up. What you said earlier about arrests, I believe we've had about 12,000 arrests here for social media posts. And that is 3 times more than the next country in the list at 4,000, which I can't remember which country that is, whether that was Russia or something, I don't know. But we're really going through it over here, but the people are just sleepwalking. Mm-hmm. And they need to be pushed more, I think.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that even America's founding fathers were concerned about the cities back then. And Thomas Jefferson said that if America stays rural, America will be free.
Yeah.
Because people in the country are independent minded. They say, I'll leave you alone. You leave me alone. We're neighbors, we're friends. But in cities, people are en masse on top of each other like ants. And they see someone needs to control everything. There's a stoplight here, there's a stop sign there. Everything's so controlled. They get used to that socialist mentality of the government taking care of controlling everything. In a country, in a state of nature, people are more free, which is why when I came from California to Florida, I didn't go to Tampa. I went to Brooksville, a countryside suburb of Tampa, where it's open spaces. I live on 7 acres of land. And I recommend everybody get out of the cities, go to the outside of suburbs if you can, out there as much as you can. You're going to find more freedom there. During the Corona hoax days, where you had to mask up and all that. I never have to go to a supermarket in Hernando County where I live and put a mask on. It's not required. But if you go down to see Tampa, oh, they want you masked up and all that stuff.
Right.
Well, this is their whole plan, wasn't it? They wanted to get people out of the suburbs, 15-minute cities, into the cities where they can control us all.
Yes. Yes.
Now, Peymon, going back a little bit, barring the fact that we know that in 65, wonderful LBJ turned the Social Security into a piggy bank and, no skirting around it, embezzled the money that was supposed to be for everybody's retirement and just started using it for everything. But was it legal to begin with for them to tax the people, even though it was for their own benefit, to take that money out of people's paychecks to create the Social Security fund?
It is absolutely legal if you do certain activities in the 4 island territories of Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, American Samoa, and what was the other one? Okay. In those 4 U.S. island territories, that's where FICA, Social Security taxes apply. The United States is defined out of those 4 island territories. Okay, that's right. Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Guam, and American Samoa. Okay, so again, the definitions were hidden in the Internal Revenue Code section. Here the section is 3120, 3101, no, 3102. That's right, 3102E. Way down there, deep buried in there, they have these definitions. So, but again, nobody looks up the law. They don't teach us about law in high school or even university. I had 2 business law classes in university. I was taught nearly absolutely nothing about the Constitution, about my rights, about taxes. So we just do whatever that professional accountant, CPA, tax attorney tells us to keep us safe. And he is miseducated, okay, as well, because he's the one that gets us to be a slave. And that code section 8 is section 3121E of the Internal Revenue Code, Title 26.
I would say he's brainwashed and indoctrinated. That's how I would describe it, that they don't even have the ability or the questioning to get informed the right way.
Well, I think that, the fact that Freedom Law School is growing very fast now, since the last 5 years, where I found these laws available online for free. You can literally type in on your cell phone, okay, or your computer. Type in, for example, 26 space USC space 7701, and then hit enter. And you see the law, go down to section A, 9, and 10, and you see definition of the term United States. On FICA, Social Security withholding, do the similar thing. Type in 26 space USC space 3121. Hit enter. You have to go way, 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 way down, buried in E. It's a very long section. At E1 defines the term United States. They've literally buried these definitions. Who's got the time and interest to go through law books and find the definition of all this stuff? But now that it's easy with laws available for free on the internet, like I showed you, people can go like that and see, wow, this is real. I can see with my own eyes on my own cell phone.
Now, on Saturday, just happenstance, as it worked out, I was on with Joe Bannister. For those of you who don't know who Joe Bannister is, he's former gun-toting IRS agent who turned whistleblower. Went against them, they went after him, this and that and the other. And from what you described, and I've bitched about this ad nauseum in the past. One of the things I brought up, which seems to be the main problem, just from holding up that IRS Bible there, that the most dangerous foreign language that has interceded into our government is what's called legalese.
Yeah.
A foreign language was purposely introduced to deceive and confuse the people of the United States or of anywhere. Has to be deciphered by an attorney who's registered with the bar, which is in the United States organization, and it's impossible to understand. Now, simple contract law, when people talk about common law, which is basically what simple contract law is, I'm giving you this, you're giving me that. Done. So simple you don't need Groucho Marx to go, it's so simple a 3-year-old can understand it. Somebody go find me a 3-year-old. You know, you don't need that. It's just really plain and simple. Is that the killer part of the IRS code?
Well, the fact that we no longer have to go to an attorney to know the law. You can look it up online on your cell phone. It's huge. In fact, 5 years ago, when I was going to get on YouTube and I want to do some classes on the Constitution and income tax, that's what led me to do this deep research. Because it used to be, Mark, I had to physically in 1990s go to the law library among this row of law books, row after row. Someone taught me, a friend, how they're organized. Where do you find what Supreme Court cases, where you find federal laws and California laws and so forth. Find the right law book, pull it out, open it up, flip the right section page, read it, and then say, oh, that is what I'm looking for. And then take it to a copy machine. Pay 15 cents per page copy. Okay. And then if it refers to another section, go there, do the same thing, and then take it home after highlight the relevant language, put it in the manila folder. On the top right, what this is about. Definition of United States in federal tax laws. Put in my file drawer. So for future reference, I can look for it, get it out, use it, or share with a friend. That process was so cumbersome. Just like right now, looking for knowledge is so much easier now on a search online than 30 years ago, you had to go look it up in a library with the index cards. So I think that information revolution online, Mark, has changed the game. So people no longer need an attorney to tell them what the law is, what the truth is. They can do it for themselves. And that's why at freedomlawschool.org, I have the law right there from government's official legal websites. And I show people, look, you can verify it for yourself. Here's a link, click on here, see the law from U.S. government's own official legal website. So this is changing the game. You no longer have to rely on a so-called expert. You're the expert.
Anybody have anything before I go on to another?
No, it's just having the time, isn't it? Yeah, to do the research.
One thing I've wondered about, and I'm sure a lot of people out there wonder about, is we know that a lot of people have filed their 1040s. We know that a lot of people have sent in money to the IRS. We know that a lot of people have had their companies take money out of their checks that goes to the IRS. Where's our money going?
Rat hole of waste and corruption. I mean, there was an audit the Pentagon done, okay, back in late 90s. And the report came out September 10, 2001. And Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld was on TV saying they
2.3.
could not account for $2 trillion of military budget with a T, trillion. That was back in late 1990s. So you can imagine how much worse it is today. It's all waste, corruption, irresponsibility, and criminality, like January 6th, where the FBI and the Department of Injustice stop innocent patriots for going in the U.S. Capitol to peacefully exercise their First Amendment rights, but they threw stuff at them, and they said, "Oh, you're doing an insurrection." This is our government with our money doing that. People like Ray Epps are paid by the government to agitate the crowds. Go into the Capitol. That's what our problems are. Okay? That is all going on because our government is no longer a government of, by, of, and for we the people. And it's high time that American people take back our country. The good news is the corruption now is so obvious that everybody can see it. Back when I started in the late 80s and early 90s, I was telling people, look, our government is corrupt. CIA is involved in importing hard drugs into America. People look at you fine like, whatever. Yeah. But now people have seen it with all what's going on. Democrat, Republicans, they're both uniparty, corrupt. So now American people are ready to take action, stop paying their own destruction through the IRS, and take back our freedom and our rights. And the good news is, Mark, now by standing together, we can make a huge difference. And we are, okay? The Founding Fathers refused to pay 3% T-tax that they legally owed. Instead, they give that money to George Washington and company, which fought for the glorious revolution that we had, that we have our freedoms today based upon that. We don't need to risk our lives, sacred honor, and fortune like they did to take back our freedoms. All we have to do is exercise our rights of First Amendment to read, think, verify for ourselves, and stop paying our enemies and stop funding the freedom movement. In fact, I'll give you another interesting thing about this. We have petitions for free on our website, freedomlawschool.org, that everybody's encouraged to send to your congressman with a log, quoted and attached. Say, hey, congressman, here's a law. I am not required to file and pay federal income taxes. You either stop the IRS and DOJ from misapplying the law to American people that do not owe the tax, or show me where I'm wrong, and I will humbly pay my fair share of taxes. This has been done thousands upon thousands of times by the public and our students. You know how many times a congressman has written us and told us, oh, here it is. I found the law in your Internal Revenue Code. You're wrong. Here's where you got to pay income tax. Right here it is. You know how many times that has happened? Never. Because they can't. So once you do that, you see the emperor wears no clothes. Like me, you call the emperor. The emperor's walking naked. No law requires you to file income tax. Why pay for income tax that you don't legally owe? And then you just, everybody else hears, everybody looks. Let me see. Let me see for myself. Oh, I'm going to go on my cell phone. 26 space, USC space, 7701. Go down to A9 and 10. Wow. There's a 10-minute video, the first video on our website. freedomlawschool.org that shows the law to you in just 10 minutes. And when you do that, wow, you are free because you have verified the truth for yourself.
Beautiful. I just want to add to that. It's absolutely no coincidence, is it, whatsoever, that on September the 11th, an airliner missile hit the Pentagon directly in the budget analyst office, where they were investigating the 2.3 trillion that went missing that Donald Rumsfeld announced the day before.
Yeah. Funny thing, how it hits that very part of Pentagon. Yeah.
Well, isn't it also funny that on that day, strangely enough, the one building that wasn't hit and yet collapsed, Building 7, World Trade Center, we're in the basement. Geez, they happen to have the backup files for everything that was hit in that Pentagon office, as well as a gold depository, as well as the New York City OEM office and the mayor's emergency office. How strange.
Oh, it's mere coincidence.
Yes.
It was the rumbling, Mark. It was the vibration from the other buildings, right? Hey,
Exactly.
Peymon, I have a question more on a personal level. What made you start doing this in the 90s? Like, what was that aha moment that got you to say, something's not right, I'm going to investigate? And then, of course, you went on to help many, many people.
Well, I was born and raised in Iran in a Jewish family. And my dad talked with his friends when I was sitting as a 6-year-old boy listening, not about sports or cars or fishing or boating. No. He talked politics about America versus Soviet Union, about Arab-Israeli conflict, about Iran, where the king, Shah of Iran, was absolute dictator. You had no right to criticize. And if you did, his Secret Service could kidnap you. You disappeared for weeks or months in jail, perhaps tortured, no jury trial, long prison sentence, maybe executed. And as a kid, I thought, man, that's wrong. Why should anybody be a slave of anybody else? So I already had, you could say, practically a political science degree by the time I came to America at age 14 in 1977. Then when I went to college in the early 80s, I took economics classes and I read Milton Friedman, Free to Choose. And I saw, America is not a free country like advertised on television, like in Westerns with John Wayne, and Clint Eastwood, or Wild Wild West. This is no longer a free country like it was meant to be. So I found that, so I'm called a libertarian, someone who believes in liberty. So when I became an American citizen in '89, first thing I did is register as Libertarian Party member and contacted the party and became, as soon as possible, an activist for the party to wake up the American people. Folks, let's take our country back from Demopublicans and Republicans, the communist socialists on the left and the war hungry on the right. So I was doing that for several years as an activist, and I would have organized meetings, invite the public to come and hear speakers about what's going on, because there was no online back then, right? So I was doing that. And on a talk radio program in LA, KFI, Handle on the Law, I heard this lady say income tax is voluntary. And I was going to work. I thought, that is something different, because I believe income tax is slavery on philosophical point of view. So why does she say there's no law requires to file income tax? I was a financial planner part-time. I help people set up IRAs, and things like that. So being a curious cat, open-minded, right? I said, hey, why what the heck? Let me take her phone number down. I'll call her when I get home tonight and find out, get more information. Because I always believed that my father taught me self-education. Education is a lifetime process. Read and think for yourself, Peymon. So I called her. And she said, Peymon, I'll prove it to you, but it will cost you $40. I said, what? $40? If what you're saying is true based upon the law, not just philosophy, you got something to sell, and that's perfectly fine. I will happily pay you. But she said, no, you got to pay. And I thought, man, that's about $250 in today's money. So, but she said, okay, tell you what, Peymon, though, if I don't satisfy you, the law is on our side, that you do not have to file and pay income tax, I will give your $40 back. I said, it's my choice, my opinion about whether you showed me and proved me the law, right? She said, yes. I said, okay, lady, you're on. I'm coming to a meeting. That night, she showed me enough of the Toronto Code and the U.S. Constitution. The light went on. I said, wow, this is what we've been looking for, the answer for freedom in America. Because you cannot get good, libertarian, honest people in office that uphold our rights in the Constitution, mentioned, because politicians are forced to become whores of the big bank corporations with money to get the name out there, to get votes. Libertarians don't win because we don't do that. So now we can have our money that we worked hard for, and now we have extra that we can contribute to get people elected that represent the American people. So that was my vision back then. I've been working for over 34 years, Elisa, to educate Americans about this. And way back then, when I first did my first meeting, and I invited my friends and neighbors to come, I'm going to show you some of this stuff. You know how many people showed up to my meeting?
How many?
0. Because Americans trusted their governments. Oh, he's radical, extremist, whatever they thought in the high, oh, crazy. But now that people are seeing for themselves with the Epstein files, with the, the whole censorship in January 6th that Biden did, with this war for Israel, a tail wags the dog. Netanyahu is telling Trump what to do, right, for his little country. People are waking up, and there's interest to actually check this out for themselves. And now that's why I think this is the right moment. We're going to get this out there, and we're going to get America back, Alyssa.
Yeah, that's a great story. It really is.
It's a funny thing when you sit and you look at this. And one of my favorite lines has always been from movie Trading Places, because it's a very, very true line. And that's, well, how do you hurt rich people? You turn them into poor people.
Yep.
And when you sit and you look at what's been done to us, and I have said on the air and to people in general ad nauseum, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are two parties none of us are invited to. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason that people have unrestricted monies that they can give to politicians to run for office and to help their campaigns, et cetera, et cetera. And there are reasons that the powers that be want to fund these people to get into office, and that's because these people make the laws and the rules and regulations. And if they pay for them to get in, they expect that as payback, that it's made to their advantage, not to our advantage. So we have to start taking back control from these powers that be.
Mhm.
And I think that the first step that people can really do to start to take back, let's face it, prior to 1913, and people, I'm not going to use the adjectives, but people railed when the president started going back to tariffs and levying tariffs on all these different countries in order to create equal trade. Prior to 1913, we existed on tariffs and we had zero debt and no income tax, no nothing. Having enlightened everybody to the point that they don't have to pay income tax, having enlightened everybody to the point that they not only don't have to pay income tax, but that income tax does not go to our country, does not go to help our infrastructure, doesn't have anything to do with helping us. People have to start waking up and start taking it back. So if you had one thing that you could tell everybody right now, to tell them to, let's say for argument's sake, tell the patriots, the people who are allegedly awake, people who are here and backing the president and backing what it is that we're all trying to do, a simple step that they could take to do that, what would you tell them?
Seek the truth, and the truth shall set you free.
Love it.
Simple, to the point, factual.
Yeah.
There's, again, you said it, and I've said it for a long time. It's all at our fingertips.
Mhm.
Yeah.
More information than has ever been available is at our fingertips, and people are lazier than ever.
In an age of information, ignorance is a choice.
That's right. People,
And I have a good news, Bible, to share with everybody, because I know the letters IRS scares people. The first thing they think they're going to go to prison or lose everything they got if they don't file income tax. And so what I've done is I've given people options. There's two ways you can go about this thing. Option one is on your own. Stop income tax withholding on your paycheck. Stop paying quarterly estimated payments to the IRS and stop filing 1040 forms on your own. And better than 99% of the time, you will be left alone by the IRS. Okay. Now, there's another group that says, well, Peymon, that sounds great. I like the odds, but I would really feel better if I could get some kind of a guarantee because I'm still nervous. What do you have for me? And I tell people this: if you have the spirit of Americans' founding fathers in you, they stood up for rights and our freedoms in a very bold way. They put it all on the line. But if you have that spirit without putting your lives, second honor, okay, and everything on the line, what you can do is this. I created a plan called Restore Freedom Plan. Not a revolution. We don't want to destroy things. We want to restore what the founding fathers put together in the first place. Go back to our roots. So Restore Freedom Plan is where you can contribute 30% of what you would have paid to the IRS. You get to keep the other 70% for yourself and your family. It's your money. But if you choose and elect this privilege of giving 30% to Restore Freedom Plan, now we can take that money to get our message out there to more outlets out there, more support the truth-telling freedom media, and support the election of people who are representing you, the American people, not the powerful billionaires, Epstein gang. So, of course, and what we do on top of that, we make sure you don't go to prison because those petitions to Congress I mentioned to you protect you from going to prison because it shows your good faith and tax law. You cannot go to prison without the government proving your bad faith. And those petitions, willingness to pay income taxes, if they show you the law, it's a proof of your good faith, you have a record of it. So you will not go to prison, and we do all the legal work. We pay the attorneys as needed. And even if we were to lose in court and the IRS takes your money, whether it's 10,000, 10 million, or more, from our pool of funds, we will reimburse you in full. You have zero risk. But you have to choose that option. Rather than keeping 100% for yourself and 99% plus being left alone, you say, no. I want to be part of this glorious restoration of America, like founding fathers have a chance today to be like George Washington, Jefferson, and company. I want to be part of this. Count me in. I'm glad, happily pay 30% of what I would have paid otherwise to the Epstein billionaires anyways. And I get to have the other 70% for me and my family to enjoy with safety and peace of mind. So I invite people to go to freedomlawschool.org and educate yourself. And then at the end, you can make the choice. Remain a slave of the IRS. Give your money to the Epstein billionaire gang who controls the government. Or be free on your own. Keep 100% if you want to. Or join Restore Freedom Plan and keep 70% of that. And then you'll be guaranteed safety, and you're part of the solution of restoring America to be free and prosperous with a big, healthy middle class once again.
And I'm sorry, Peymon, and in all this time, you've had to pay out exactly how much?
Zero for over 30 years. I've not paid IRS anything. And remember, none of my students also have gone to prison who followed me, came to me clean, stopped filing and paying income tax with me first, and stayed with me. None of them have gone to prison, or IRS has ever by force taken even $1 from any of them.
Superb, sir.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So, again, you can find Peymon, freedomlawschool.org, not .com, anybody, freedomlawschool, one word, .org. Or you can call Freedom Law School, 813-444-4800. People, if we're going to take back what is rightfully ours, local action
equals national impact.
Yep.
General Flynn.
I hate to keep repeating it because I always get a bag of crap when I do. You got to get off your ass and do your part.
Exactly.
I don't want to see in the comments or hear later, I'm doing it. I'm not pointing the finger at you. I'm pointing a general fat finger at everybody.
Yeah.
You have to do your part.
We the people.
Exactly. Not P the weeple, but we the people.
We've all seen the meme. Lisa and I've discussed this with all the fat cats sitting around a chessboard with the people on their hands and knees underneath it. If we all stand up collectively together in mass non-compliance, the game is over. It's done.
Done.
That's right.
All together.
And that's what it's all about. I always say when the president says, it's going to be biblical. Folks, I'm not talking about the Bible. I truly 100% believe in this. My own opinion. I don't tend to give opinions. My own opinion that biblical thing is for the first time in the history of mankind that you will see the unification of mankind.
Exactly.
But you got to do it.
Yeah.
To do it, you got to be it.
Peymon,
always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, lovely to meet you.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I hope enough people learned not to file their taxes.
Yeah.
And let's do something and start to take our country back. Of course, couldn't have done this I want to thank Claudia, Kat, Carrie, and Doug. The best forward line. Let's put it that way. The best forward line that anybody could have, because they're not mods, they're not producers, and this and that and the other. They are our PR firm.
Yeah.
Because they deal with all you guys one-on-one. So thank you,
Yeah.
Claudia, Kat, Carrie, and Doug. The best.
Wonderful. Can
Also,
I just say, can I just say, it's a beautiful patriotic panel today with mine and Lisa's flags, your shirt, Mark, and your tie, Peymon. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And, I also want to say that Elisa and I are honoured that you've asked us to carry this on for you, and we shall do everything we can to keep the show in as high esteem as you have run it in the past.
Yeah.
thanks. Look, I picked you guys for a reason. And
Thank
I was glad when you accepted, because you very much so uphold the same interview style that I do. You allow the guests to speak. You ask intelligent questions, and thus in turn you get intelligent answers. As long as we keep having on guests like Peymon, et cetera, I'm sure the show will do very, very well.
Absolutely.
And just for everybody's peace of mind, I'm not disappearing from the face of the earth. I will still be around. People ask me to do a show here and there. I will do it.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, with all you're going to be doing now, and your commitment to the children, and, of course, we're going to have you on, because we're going to need updates on what you're doing and recruiting more people for these amazing groups that are helping this very all important and core, cause out there with the kids. So we're not going to let you go too far.
Yeah.
Should I pull the old comedic line? Say I wouldn't watch a show that would have me as a guest. But also very important, talking about helping people. Coming up the end of this month is the Awakening Summit out. I won't say out, on Long Island. But for anybody from the New York area who knows, it is not far out on the island. It's kind of right across the Queens border. So if you're in the area, or if you're coming to New York, do your best to try and attend the Awakening Summit. It's the 25th and 26th of April. Will be a lot of great speakers there. It's been a fun time. And I can assure you, having done many of these in the past, that when you attend them, you're in amongst people of your own mindset. So it's a great thing. So if you're in the area of New York, April 25th and 26th, please try to attend. So once again, Peymon, thank you for your time. Elisa and Stu, wonderful being your co-host this week and for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing. Mark, can I just quickly run through our schedule just so everyone knows, because there's so much going on at the moment. Obviously, we're recording 3 shows this month, which we will be uploading to, it's going on your channels, and it will be going on all our Patriots across the pond. All our channels are there. It'll be going on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, etc. We will be loading on a Monday. I think next week we're doing a live one with Joe and Scott, I believe,
Yes.
on that Monday, which is the 13th. Then, of course, because I'm going to the Awakening Summit and I'll be traveling back at the start of May. May is a bit of a mishmash for us. So May the 4th, I don't think we're doing one. May the 11th, we will be on for episode 5. And then Alicia and I are having our annual holiday. And then starting in June the 1st, religiously, every Monday, we are REPSECT. And we are so much looking forward to getting so many great guests on.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
We hope we do you proud. And just one more thing. I was watching a documentary of Elisa last night that I watched years ago. It's about 16, 17 years old. It's called Changes on the Horizon, Dawning of a New Age. And it goes into all this stuff, how these systems and the IRS and everything and the Federal Reserve and everything over the years. It's about a 3-hour documentary, but it's amazing. You can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah,
Excellent.
very good.
Excellent information. So once again, thank you, Peymon.
Thank you.
Lisa and Stu. Thank you, everybody out there. We'll see you all next Monday on REPSECT. And of course, as per usual, I'm going to play us out with Who Saves the Children. If you could do anything to help out, at the end, you'll see the 4 organizations. I don't call them charities. They're organizations that are out there to help the kids. None of it goes to me. None of it goes to any of us. It goes directly to helping the kids.
Yeah. Where we go, one we go all, people. And hugs are better than handshakes. Give someone a hug.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, everybody. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week on Respect. Good
Okay.
night. I hate when it does that.
Woohoo! Still there.
Fine. There we go.
Children are the center of our world, and we do our best to show them that we care. But evil is lurking everywhere to steal their youth, kill their souls, show them things that they should never know. We live in the craziest of times. You never know what's in another's mind. We keep them safe, protect from bad, but they just choose to make them sad and keep their evil rituals alive. Who saves the children? We do, we do. Who keeps them safe and warm and so secure? Children, we do, we do, and we'll fight to death to keep it safe for you. We'll fight for what's right with all of our might, and we won't leave one single child behind. Dawn of time, and their actions take a twisted mind. But we won't stand no more. We'll track them down for sure and make sure that they are gone forevermore. Why can't you see the crimes committed on our kids by the powers that be? How long do we wait? How many must die? How many loving parents need to cry? Who saves the children? We